Low Tide Boyz, a Swimrun podcast. I'm Chip.
And I'm Chris, and this is episode 207 of the show. This week we have the fourth installment in our annual Low Tide Boyz Fireside chat, where we sit down around the holidays. I don't know why we started it. It seemed like a good idea. It was like year one was kind of like dumpster fire, where we look back on a year of podcasting, racing, and other stuff. And it's been a fun year.
It has, and it's been another great year in the Low Tide Boyz, and fourth annual of this.
I know. That's the craziest part.
Yeah, I think
this is the fourth one of these things.
Yeah. So I mean, it's hard to sum it all up in a sentence, but we did it again. Another year checked off.
Yeah. So for this one, I think we were thinking that instead of just kind of rambling stream of conscience, it's probably still going to be a lot of that.
I mean, not as much, hopefully.
But we would do a year in review just in terms of the content we've been putting out, and then we're going to do sort of our team highlights. Obviously, there's some Attila talk that's coming up, and what's next for both us as a racing team, the show, content, whatnot. But let's start with the year in review, Chipper. We kicked it off. I feel like every year we keep kind of ratcheting up, first one or two of the year. So for this year, Max and Hugo right out the gate, and then followed by Amanda Nielsen, which those were two super fun episodes.
Absolutely, those were two. And I think Max and Hugo they were off on some vacation. They were still at some training camp together or something. But they were in different. I forgot.
You know what?
What it
you know
was,
what? When we recorded it, they were still on the island of Réunion.
Yes.
I think it was either right before or right after they did the swim run there.
That's right. But always a great conversation with them, and then hearing from Amanda, and she has had an excellent year.
Oh my God. Swim Runner of the Year.
Yes.
Everybody.
Swimrun.com awards. It could be out already.
Yeah.
And then what we've really been liking, the sort of February Partners Month, I think we just sort of stumbled into that thematic, but we've carried that one over the last few years, hearing from teams from around to sort of help inspire you all, if you found your partner or you haven't, kind of showing the cornucopia of options that there are from a partnership perspective. But then we also rounded out with a masterclass on teamwork from Brad Stolberg.
Yeah, friend of the show.
Yes, of course. And always such great perspective.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that we did, I think we mentioned it when we started the year, that we felt like last year was a lot sort of about our journey and our anxiety heading towards Attila.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of content around that. So this year we really wanted to kind of be of service, feel like we're being more of service. So we did a bunch of course previews. We did Bali Hope Swim Run, Tamega Swim Run, Hokey Cokey, Bellingham. We had like guest race reports from Transcape. It was cool just to see all the different, ways of swim running and cool events.
Yeah,
out there.
highlight other areas around, because that's what we know is going to be the way of how the sport grows, and keeping it the way that I guess we like it, and we've been enjoying it so far. So trying to highlight those, because those episodes are some of our most popular. People obviously use them to get inspired about what races to do. They also use them to study when they're preparing for their races. So,
and we highly recommend, if you're doing a race and we have a course preview episode, or we've done it and have a race report episode, like check it out, because information's definitely power for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, and there might be multiple years of these things. And then in the summer of the year, we had probably some of the biggest news in the swim run universe that we've had. New race director and sort of ownership group at Attila. So we were able to have new Attila race director for the European races, Stefan Borkelin, join us, hear about how he's going to approach, and really got thrown right into it. I think he had one race, and then Attila, the Swimrun World Championship, was approaching. But really great conversation with him, and I think that helped put a lot of confidence, at least with us, and hopefully with you all, that Attila is still being carried on in the right way, and the real truth and the nature of it is preserved.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, that was precipitated by the, Michael and Mats stepping down from their leadership roles at Attila. And obviously we love them. whatever they're doing next, we're there.
Yeah.
We'll be there for it. But but that leads to, once again, we were racing the Swimrun World Championship. So instead of doing our sort of venting our anxiety on those on the like 4 months out, 3 months out shows that we did last year, we decided to do something a little bit different and do these like strategy kind of fireside chats.
That's a good idea.
So we cut the race into thirds, and then we had different folks come on just to really give us a lot of details, which we heard from folks that they found it really helpful. So it was obviously super helpful for us, but great to get just a little bit more content for people who are really looking to dig deep.
By some veterans of Attila that they hadn't done it once or twice. They had braved that course multiple times in many different years as well. So really, I thought those were really helpful in picking up a little bit more of the nuance. I think that is a good for us, although it was a good year too. Like, okay, we had talked to people and we were kind of trying to pry out like, what would you do in your second time at it to try to make sure we were hitting that again, and then we did it again. We finished Attila, the Swim World Championship again. And that was, we'll get into it in the team highlights, but that episode was one, and that we filmed video for these too. So a little bit of the year in review of these audio podcasts. We've been trying to have some select few videos, and that was one that we did in our hotel room. I think we've got it okay dialed in now.
Yeah. I think the first time we did it was Casco.
Yeah.
And that was from, sitting on some futons.
Yeah, sitting on someone's thing. And then something else that was new again that we ended up doing twice was we did a couple of live shows.
Yeah.
So this is something that
imagine that
we hadn't really planned on doing, but it kind of ended up working out really well when we were over in Sweden. Oscar Olsen,
our friend,
the man, the myth, the legend himself. We did a live show with him that he brought on some different teams around, featuring some of the American teams, since there was another big American contingency there. And I thought that went over well, and we sort of tried to replicate that or do it again with Dominic and Lars from the Attila team and before Attila Austin.
Yeah, and I think that one, I think it was it felt we definitely like learned the lessons from the first one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think people found it helpful. We were surprised that people stuck around to watch it.
Yeah, it was
it was nice.
And that was a good one. I think it kind of, I'm sure it's a cool experience for people to kind of see it happen. I guess they probably have invested a lot of hours.
See how the sausage is made.
Yeah, exactly. To see how those chicken nuggets are all gooed up. But yeah, that was good, and it was a great conversation as well. And I think that's a format that we're excited about, and we'll try to get out there as much as we can. It also is adding. It's also like, okay, now we have to work.
More things,
we got to work when we're racing too, which is okay. And then, I mean, I think a highlight for us and something that we've been trying to make happen for, I feel, a while. The Wives episode.
Yeah,
the
episode
Wives.
200, which is also like, oh my God, 200 episodes. Crazy.
Yeah, episode 200 this year as well. And again, I think when it goes all the way back to now, about this time in 2019, when we're like, yeah, let's do a podcast. Obviously, speaking for myself, I don't think it's speaking for you as well. I don't think we were like, oh yeah, we'll be like 200 plus episodes into this thing, in 4 years or whatever. But really, really awesome feat and achievement. So
yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, great year of content. I think I was really happy with the stories we're able to tell. I think it's easy it would be intellectually easy to just bring teams on and be like, oh, how'd you discover Swimrun, and just do that every week, because those are conversations we might have, we love having. But in terms of trying to keep the content interesting and fresh and trying to new things on the show, we're still trying to push the envelope on keeping people entertained. So
yeah, I think we're doing, we bring a lot of variety.
Yeah,
there's not, so that, you can't knock us for not bringing the variety on that front. I think one thing that we were excited to bring back a little bit more this year is a little bit more of the Gear Talk episodes. So working more with Annie and Brooke from the Swimrun Labs and getting their point of view and really doing deep dives into gear. We had some cool partnerships this year as well, where we got to test out some gear, whether that be from Orca wetsuits or the Vivo Barefoot shoes. We got the Arc Vig Air. Finally, Chris, you checked the box. We got the Arc Vig Gear Talk episode out. So that was
It's funny how many people thought it's like, wait, that episode wasn't out. I'm like, dude, they were all about the Vig Air, basically, or the Vig.
It was intertwined into the very very first one there, and we did. I feel this year, from a gear perspective, we sort of somehow struck gold with the Adidas Terex shoe that just caught fire in the swimmer world, and we're claiming some responsibility for this.
I think we
As we
can.
should.
I mean, when we're running and people are talking to us about the shoes and stuff, it's great.
During the race.
It's great. It's great. Yeah, no, so great year of content. I think stoked for 2024, but we'll talk about that later. But Chipper, let's talk about us as a team
highlights.
man, our journey.
Yeah, so rewinding a year, we were, I think one thing that we were pretty, in a very stark contrast to this year, we were pretty dead set on doing Attila again. Like, we were like, okay, in 2023, in 2022, we did Attila. We learned so much. We have a lot of fitness still. We feel really good about everything. Let's just roll it right in and do it again. And we were both like, I feel like we were really like, let's make this happen. And we did.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would totally co-sign with that. I feel like once we decided pretty early on that we thought we had the points and we were just going to go for that it wasn't, we never put kind of like the burden down. We just kind of kept it on our shoulders a little bit, like all off season, which I think made us not lose as much fitness during the off season, but also kind of kept us engaged.
Yeah.
And I do think that helped. Plus, just like the experience of it all. It's like, okay, we already did one training cycle for this thing, so doing another one, now we can iterate on what we should have done before. Blah blah blah.
We were still pretty juiced. We had a lot of thoughts on how we could improve and how we wanted to tweak things a little bit, for sure. And we obviously, it was such an amazing experience. We wanted to do it again. Now, in contrast to 2022, we did 6 races in 2022. In 23, as a team, we really did 2 full races. So quite a contrast. And we were doing much less traveling. And we kind of got some bad luck this year.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned it in the Austin course race report show, where in 2022, it's like everywhere we went, we were just like farting rainbows.
Yeah, it's bringing sunshine, baby.
And this year, it was just either races didn't happen, they were canceled, there was crazy fog. It was just like there was a lot of things that kind of went sideways this year, which I think, we would have done 4 races if it wasn't for conditions or cancellations.
Yeah, and even some non-swim run. I think we had a trail run on the books that the rains were so heavy here they had to close the trail. So like even a non-swim run race was getting canceled or postponed on the end here. But so that, from a training perspective, I felt like we were pretty locked in still. We had, we executed the plan that we had. We felt good about that. I know, sort of, Chris, you started the year off like on your own documentation, like feeling a bit behind on the swim piece. But I also feel like you had the reinforcement, like you had good swim performance, and it gave you the confidence. I mean,
I feel like I knew what I needed to do. I mean, and it's like we've talked about this in previous shows. Just I try to be really just extra mindful about training this year than I have been in the past, and took this class by Dr. Justin Ross that we had on the show. And essentially, understood, by choice took this break because I got this like huge tattoo thing going.
You may have noticed.
And then I knew I had to build back, and I knew we were doing the World Championship, and I knew it was a serious thing. So I just kind of got to work. And definitely felt like, by the time we got to the World Championships, like I felt good for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you had months of
months and months. It's like lots of yards, right? Yeah, but it's I will say though, if this was our first year doing the World Championship, not having had any race kind of go according to plan before, like that would have been super stressful to me. I think the fact only by the fact of the experience we've had was I able to kind of manage the anxiety of like, wait, my first swimrun race that's going to go to completion is the World Championship,
right? Because
I didn't do Folsom, which you did solo, and
Casco.
It was like a training day.
Yeah, and that I think we had Lake James the year before. We didn't do that one this year. So yeah, our first swim run was really Casco, and it wasn't what we were expecting or what we were hoping to get. So I think that kind of, that left it a little bit more uncertain about.
Well, I mean, I think you said it. It's like, oh, the midterm's canceled, so all your final grade is all based on the final exam.
Yeah, that is true. But yeah, I mean, I still think as a team, it was a good time. We had a good, really strong year. It was 22 versus 23 from a training perspective was wildly different for us, you and I. And yeah, just a pretty big shift, I would say. And we dealt with it. We experienced like, hey, we could either train like 90% of our stuff together, or we could train, I don't know, what would you say, 10, 15, maybe 20% together. Obviously, swim runs and longer stuff, we made sure it happened. But like, hey, it was kind of a good trust building. Not that there needs to be, we have plenty of...
I mean, I think it was like, I would say all key sessions, barring some work commitment or being out of town or something, we all did those together for the most part. I think, it was just the nature of work and lives that made it a little bit tougher. Definitely. But yeah, so World Champs was what it was. You can listen to our race report if you want all the details on that day. But closing out the year in Austin was awesome. Plus the news that obviously Attila USA is a thing.
Obviously really excited, and I can't help but love the Austin race. It just is such a great way to finish the year off. Cup floweth over with gratitude and all that sort of stuff at that race, and it's a fun time, and it always presents a little bit of a different challenge there, but it ends up always
as the water keeps getting
as the
lower.
Water gets lower and lower and lower every year.
But in terms of team highlights, I think like we definitely feel wiser, and the way we navigated the World Championship and the races that we did do was just like, all right, we're obviously on like our psychic tether is very well connected. In fact, let me give you to our listeners at home, like, how crazy the psychic tether is. Independent, we didn't talk about this, but I noticed that you cut your hair a little bit. I also had cut my hair.
I noticed that yesterday too.
And I was like, we did not talk about this.
We would have talked about it before.
In the same week, we both got a little bit of trim. I got like 5 inches of curly hair taken out.
I got quite a bit chopped off. They had to do 2 sweeps when I was in the chair. Yeah. Wow. The golden box is like Samson getting his haircut.
We're even cutting your hair at the same time without even discussing it. So
yeah, I mean, yeah. And I ran into a mutual friend of ours, and he's like, "Do you still talk to Chris?" I'm like, "Every day, all day, every day, still." Even like we're literally almost trying to make an effort to not talk to each other, but it still happens all the time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But psychic tether always there and connected. But from a racing perspective, I mean, you glossed over the World Championship. You went through a tremendous amount of adversity personally and as a team. You did, and we made it happen, which I think really ties a bow on why we think Swimrun's so great. Like, if I was in your position, it was a solo thing, I'm just hanging out at one of the aid stations. I'm like, someone pick me up. I'm just like, give me some more boulars. I'm taking all that stuff. Those peach rings, wherever those were.
Some like fika therapy.
I'm still dreaming about those peach rings on the course. But it really put a tie on. Yes, it would have been great if you wouldn't have, if you would have had not been impaled by that tree on multiple levels, but we made it through
sentence.
And like we still had a good day out there on a really tough course. But anyway,
yeah, for
definitely
sure.
listen to that one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that brings us to the last thing we want to chat about, which is what's up, what's next for us,
next for the
what's
Low Tide
next for
Boys?
the show. I can tell you for the show,
Another 52
it's
episodes.
continuing.
Another 52 episodes, I guess.
It's continuing.
Yeah.
So, people have been worried. It's like, 200, you guys shutting it down. We're not shutting it. We got to land this plane at some point, but we're not landing it yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously, we say this a little. I think we're pretty real about the energy and the effort that this enterprise, as Chris put it, demands. But I would be lying if I wouldn't say, like, if there was nobody listening, I think the conversation's a little bit different. But with so much positivity and like energy that we get back from everybody, it really is like sail in the air, wind in the sails.
Yeah. For sure.
us.
I mean, it's like the fact that people find it useful and helpful. It's like, well, that's why we did this. That's why we started this whole enterprise,
Yeah.
right? And then in terms for us, the only race that we have, I guess, is confirmed the fact that everyone's
We're
gotten
not registered
passports.
for any races.
Not registered for any races, but Engadin is happening. Anyone who wants to join us, you're welcome to come.
Yeah, June 29th or something.
Yeah. We're
bringing the
weekend
families. Like we got the kids' passports and stuff. Like it's the most solid thing that we have out of everything else. Everything.
At least we have the passports.
I will say a few things that we're excited about. We're excited. We don't know, but we are excited. We hear tell there could be up to 1 to 2 new Atala races in the United States.
Yeah.
And, I think it would be safe to say we would be really into doing those races. Like that's not a stretch, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. From our reporting, we think it'll be in states that start with the letter C.
There's some Connecticut. Okay. But yeah, I mean, we have our own, just like we obviously, if they were in California, that's great for us.
That would get high priority.
Yes,
for sure.
it would definitely get high priority. I love that Swimrun NC is coming back. I love Swimrun we like every race that we do, and we have a great time. I always like doing Folsom. It's sort of like that's a easy one to do on the weekend. There's just so much.
Yeah, there's
so much to do.
There's much, and as soon as so on the content side, one of the things we're thinking early next year is once we figure out what our race schedule is going to be, we're going to do a show kind of highlighting all the U.S. courses, and hopefully we'll have some exclusive information to share.
Mm-hmm.
If you're listening, you know who you are. Give us this exclusive information so we can share it. And yeah, we'll have it. But I'm thinking probably going to do at least 3 swim runs next year. It's pretty safe to say. And I'm personally doing a bunch of more trail running. Like I'm going to get back into mountain running a little bit. So going to be doing some of that stuff, which will be great training for Engadin.
Yes, it will.
But that also makes me think, Orcas makes sense then if you're going to be all trained up got the climbing legs going.
I think that one, in terms of of all the races we had a great time, Orcas is the one from a team perspective that it's like, we know we can do way better than when the effort that we put out there.
Oh yeah. I mean, for sure. I think that would definitely be the one where I think you would feel like, if I could speak for you, there's some unfinished business.
That's a fair statement.
So, yeah.
Except I'd probably go out there and just blow my wad way early and just blow up all again.
just bring it back.
Make it that much worked.
But yeah, that's what we're thinking. Obviously this show isn't possible without the support of all our listeners. Everyone who sends us DMs, asks us questions, sends us suggestions, joins our Strava club.
600 plus people in
likes
Strava
the meme.
now. Patreon. Oh my gosh.
It's like it really makes this work. Obviously, we have to thank our kids and our wives for supporting us and encouraging us to keep this going. And I know they really appreciate that at least we're doing it together. So
yeah,
it's not just Chipper going out there doing some like random stuff. It's like, hey, there's two people doing random stuff. But yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean,
a good year.
It has been a great year, and a lot has changed, and a lot is, change is, it's happening all the time, sort of stuff, and there's going to be more change in the future, like personally, I guess, and so it's just dealing with that. But this has been a really continually an enjoyment to my life every single day, week, day, and year that we've been doing the Low Tide Boys. It's like,
yes,
I'm really happy that this is a part of my, I don't want to say personality, but like it's part of my identity, I suppose, at this point.
For sure, man.
We're micro celebrities.
Yeah, micro influencers.
To
quote my wife, who, if anyway, my wife knows how to swim, everybody.
Yeah,
I'm tired of getting the DMs. If she fell out of a boat, she wouldn't die.
Okay, that was my first question. I'm like, if she fell out, what's happening? Fine. Am I going to have to jump in?
She's not a strong swimmer, would be the thing.
Right.
But anyway, yes, obviously everything changes. The sport is changing. Mm-hmm. We're changing with it. It's so different. I mean, it feels so different now that it did in 2019.
Yeah, we have mega pull buoys now.
Got mega pull buoys now.
Buoys.
I wish they would have called it the Big Boy, though. That would have been...
Or the cease and desist from Bob's Big Boy, maybe.
But but thank you everyone for listening, for being on this journey with us.
Keep the feedback coming. Keep the DMs coming. If you have show ideas, hey, I love your videos. I love your race reports. Do more of this. Do more of that. Like, we take all that stuff in, and that definitely helps us. It's one less idea of 52 that we have to think of next year. But yeah, thank you again. Like, I don't think we could say thanks for all the support and love.
Maybe let's just say it one more time.
Okay. At the same time, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you in 24. That's it for this week's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave a rating or review, since that's the best way to help other people discover the show and the sport of swimrun.
Check out our website, lowtideboys.com. That's boys with a Z, for swimrun resources, including gear guides, tips, how-to videos, and so much more. Make sure to check out our meme page at The Low Tide Boys on Instagram. If you have any questions or suggestions for the show, send us a DM or email us at lowtideboys@gmail.com.
We'd like to thank Riding Easy Records for our show music, and of course our wives for their support and tolerance of our swimrun and other activities.
Lots of activities.
Lots of activities.
Finally, you can support our efforts on Patreon. Until next time, get out there and go for a swim.
Then a run.
And then a swim.
Then another run.
Then another swim.
Then run some more.
Just keep going.
Let's go.
And then stop at some point because,
And fuel. Don't forget to fuel.
Gotta fuel too.
Of course, yes.